I was talking with famous people, and the guy who's currently drive streaming. Now, granted, I don't expect to be able to drive stream for an especially long time. I, I'm not sure if trying to live stream with just your phone bars really works, but it might. Anyway, I'm in line at In and Out. I'm at Bakersfield, so you know I'm a good 2 hours back towards back towards back towards Mariposa, and it's been a pretty painless trip. It was actually rather a pleasant drive down. I rather enjoyed the kind of the low intensity. It wasn't a lot of traffic really. Just kind of an easy drive, pretty pleasant. So I kind of enjoyed just driving along, thinking about things for a while. And some of the time I was listening to a live stream I made this morning, the initial part of the trip down. I was listening to the live stream I made this morning, and then on the initial part of the trip back, I was actually listening to Rachel's live stream, which is interesting. It's like maybe you should listen to your wife and get to know her a little bit. Instead of just constantly being so self-absorbed. Well, right now I'm in line. Obviously, once I get back on the road, I'm not going to be able to read your chats at all. Although my current plan is get my food, get back, eat my food, live stream, and then I did too. I was listening to it. Well, maybe not the whole thing, but at one point I said like, I'm here, I'm listening in. From that point to the end, I was listening the whole time. Yes, I did. Thank you, you too. Okay. So I told myself prior to getting off here, I was like, next time you see an In and Out, Eric, you should get off and get food because it's already 10:30. If you wait till after 11, a lot of places are going to be closed. In and Out won't, but I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to see an In and Out. It was shortly after I made that determination that I saw an In and Out. So I said, well, better just follow through on the old plan here, Eric, and stop and get food. I know you don't feel super starving right now because you took a couple Adderall. Okay, a few Adderalls, 3 of them. But they're little ones, they're 10s, So you're feeling a little appetite suppressed. But you need to remember that you'll feel better if you eat. And then after I eat, I'm going to drive here. I'm pulling over to a good spot on the side of the highway to go pee. In general, I'd much rather go pee on the side of the highway than in a restroom in a restaurant, Because then if I get any pee on my feet on the side of the highway, I know it's my own. Good, how are you?
Good, good. Yeah, large Coke, any ketchup?
No, thank you.
No? Alright, we're putting it right now, alright?
So, anyway. It was very pleasant listening to Rachel stream. I'm sure she spent some time talking about her ex-boyfriend. But, you know, obviously that can be a little triggery. You know, just like that joke that guy said about he and his wife having a nice time at the lake, and his wife decided to put a stop to that, so she's like, oh, hey, there's my ex-boyfriend.
I hear that right here. You have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. I forget about things like that. Yeah, it's like, it's easy for me to forget that I got like an ounce of weed on the chair next to me. And then you go through the drive-thru and the lady probably sees it, but she doesn't care. That's the thing about ladies at places. They probably don't care about the fact that you got a bunch of weed on the seat next to you. Remember just how small the mall was. They probably wouldn't even care. Why would they care? What reason do they have to care? It has to be a real stick in the mud to care. And that's the least kind of medium you want a stick to be in. Stick in the sand, fine. Stick in the water, also okay. Stick in the air, almost ideal. But stick in the mud, no thank you. Nobody appreciates that. Okay, so I'm going to start eating a little bit of my food now. One thing I got when I was in LA at the 7-Eleven before I got back on the road was antacids. The reason I did that is because I know from experience that a one run round trip to LA to see Delilah is a perfect storm of stomach acids. Each of these things independently will cause my stomach to get acidy. Long drive. Eating just fast food. Drinking lots of soda or coffee. Smoking a lot. Taking Adderall. All of those things independently, each by themselves, will give me stomach acid. When you combine them all into one big thing, well, then you've really got the perfect storm of stomach acid. Which, of course, is a very imperfect storm indeed, because unlike a regular storm, it doesn't even bring needed rain. So, I was smart. I said, Eric, before you even get back on that road, you already know you're gonna need antacids. Just get them right now. And I did. Then I took a couple of them. And now I feel safe to eat this In-N-Out, drink this Coke. And if it does get more stomach acidity, well, I'll take a couple more antacids, you know. And I'm gonna be fine. It turned out that all of our worrying was for nothing. Okay, I'm getting over. Chill out. God, dickweed. Juice Bro Dickweed here wants me to go faster. I had to get around that slow guy, so now I'm out of your left lane. And now you don't even want to go faster anymore. Now you do want to go faster again. Well, Mr. Change Your Mind. There you go. You finally got to pass me by. Aren't you thrilled by that? So anyway, that guy passed me now. $7 points. So I guess we're still on the outskirts of Bakersfield, probably. But between about Bakersfield and Fresno, there are multiple references on signs to 7 points. 7 points refers to something having to do with the Central Valley here, you know, like the Bakersfield, Fresno area, the farming communities and stuff. Basically, probably everywhere between the 5 and the 99. Maybe that way to the left of the 99, some too, even. But I know the general area refers to vaguely, but I don't know what the 7 points refers to. Like, are there 7 specific communities that mark the 7 points at the end of the Central Valley? Are they naturally occurring points that maybe aren't cities, but are like a mountain and a meow or something? I don't know what the 7 points refers to. I was planning on looking it up when I got home. I'm seeing what it refers to. Because, you know, you hear a lot of places be like the Tri-County area. And you know that refers to 3 different counties. But 7 points, well, that's pretty vague. Points of interest? Points on a pencil? Points like a point sticking out into the ocean? Points like wonder points? It's pretty vague. But I feel good when I see that advertisement there, that billboard. A billboard for Chumansky Gold Casino in Coarse Gold, which is, you know, pretty close to where I live. So the ads for that place makes me think, oh, I must be getting a little closer to home. Of course, I know about exactly how far I am, because I've driven this drive plenty of times now. But I still do the same thing every drive, like, oh good, there's a billboard for someplace past Fresno. That means I'm getting closer. I'm always pleasantly surprised by how close Bakersfield is to Los Angeles. As soon as you get over that hill, you're just like 15 minutes till Bakersfield. It's just right there. And then I tend to have imagined historically Bakersfield being more like halfway between LA and Fresno. But it really, well, I mean, I guess it sort of is time-wise, depending on what kind of bullshit you hit going out of LA. I hit some bullshit tonight, despite the fact that I was leaving at a good time. I actually got lucky to hit the amount of bullshit I did. Because the amount of bullshit I hit was the cone putters putting out the cones, not once they had finished putting them all out and blocking out both two lanes all the way. I still had to come to a dead standstill on the grapevine for a stretch of time. Which obviously is a little frustrating when you're just trying to get back on the highway, head back home. Just past Merle Haggard Drive here on the 99. The 99 is the sort of highway that has off-ramps like Merle Haggard Drive. As I was driving down the 99 to LA, I was briefly behind a truck that had a bumper sticker that said, extremely right wing. Really? Extremely, huh? You know that extremeness in politics usually isn't good, right? When you hear about extremists, you're talking guerrilla warfare. But I guess he's extremely right wing, so what are you gonna do? For the momentary silence is that I'm chewing some food right now. I've recently taken up the habit of chewing my food before I swallow it. It's really cut down on the chokings. One thing that's kind of bad about driving at night is that you have less reference points for how fast you're going. So like right now I'm in this kind of gap where there's not really any cars immediately in front of me, not really cars immediately behind me. It's very easy in a situation like that to match pace with somebody who's in front of you and not realize, oh Jesus, I'm only going 72 miles an hour or something. When taking good time, especially this time of evening where there's not that much traffic and stuff, I should be averaging about 80, you know. I'm at 78 right now. Now, I also know that my speedometer reads a little fast, so it's probably more like 76, 77. But you know, you just get lulled into this. Well, I can't really see what's going on the sides because it's dark, but I seem to be traveling at fine speed. You might just be going like 95, or you might be going like 65, you know. It used to be the case that you could really feel the speed while you're driving in cars. Like, now cars are so technologically advanced, you could easily enough find yourself going 90. It doesn't necessarily feel very much different than going 70 in terms of the road feel, you know. My dad's Mini was just insane like that. You could find yourself going 95, but just because you just weren't really paying that much attention to the speedometer. That was a real sports car, my dad's Mini. Yeah, it had some serious 0 to 60 get up and go. Like, punch that shit and it flew. This 4-door stick shift is so much less robust as a sports car. You don't even know. There's no comparison at all. This is definitely not really a sports car, even though it sort of purports to be. I mean, you still gotta drive it like a Mini, which means you tend to rev up higher on the RPMs before you shift. Like, I regularly shift around 5. In any normal car, I'd shift around 4. That is a 1,000 RPMs, of course. Which is why, in part, no doubt, this car requires both, well, most significantly, why it requires full synthetic 5W30 oil, which is not necessarily easy to find. I mean, it's not hard to find, but if you go into a random gas station and they don't have any particular kind of oil, it'll be 5W30 full synthetic. They won't have it. So, because it's like just for European cars, basically. Only Euro car. In fact, the oil I got tonight in Los Angeles, because I don't really change my oil so much as I do just add another quart periodically. Because Minis burn a certain amount of oil anyway. I do need to change the oil filter at some point, but whatever. Because it burns oil relatively steady at a relatively steady rate, you know, I just put another quart in. And, yeah, everything seems fine. I've got almost 125,000 miles on this car. When I bought it, it had like 75,000 on it or something. So I put a good 50,000 miles on this car. And it's held up quite well. You know, Rachel and I had to replace the clutch one time. Those go out about 90,000 miles or whatever. But I'm very pleased ultimately that I have a stick shift. Because now that we live in Mariposa, a stick shift is really ideal for the kind of roads I'm driving on all the time. I've got a lot of hills, a lot of windy roads and stuff. Circumstances where you want to be able to manually control the gear, downshifting so you don't burn out your brakes so much and stuff. But when I lived in LA, there were plenty of occasions where I was like, why did I get a stick shift? Oh my god. This traffic is horrible. Why am I driving a stick shift in traffic? This makes my left foot tired unnecessarily. But since we moved to Mariposa, I feel a lot more happy with my stick shift. Now, I should also mention that going back to LA for me is always this very SI heavy thing. I have traveled back to LA from various places from the north, you know, more times than I can possibly remember. Many of those occasions coming over the grapevine as I did tonight. Other occasions maybe coming back down through Palmdale, like when I was coming back from Mammoth with my parents or something like that. But plenty of occasions coming back over coming by the 5, plenty of occasions coming back by the 101. So I know going back to LA, it's this experience I've done many times before, driving back into LA from out of town. And my whole life, that experience has always represented, I'm coming back home. But it doesn't represent that anymore. I feel like I have a home in Los Angeles. It's Delilah's apartment. It's not my parents' home, the home that we sold, etc. And I kind of have to walk myself through that process before I even get into LA. Like, remember, Eric, you're not going to Arcadia. You're not going to Temple City. Your parents are dead. Your daughter lives in Jordy. You're going to Jordy. This is not your home anymore. But even though I walked myself through that process, when I was driving over, I was about to hit the grapevine, about to go up the hill, going into LA, I said to myself, well, half an hour to Gorman, let's say, and an hour 15 minutes to home. Eric, that's not your home anymore. You don't want it to be your home. But the worst thing imaginable is to forget that people have died. Oh, I'll go home, I'll see my mom and dad, and then oh no, they're dead. I don't want that to happen. That seems depressing. Although sometimes it's just really strange. Like, one time Rachel and I were driving back to the Arcadia house from somewhere. Maybe she wasn't in the car with me, I'm not sure, but I think she might have been. And I started driving back to my old house in Temple City that I hadn't lived in 6 or 7 years or something. It's like, oh, jeez. SI, you need to update a little better than that. I don't like forgetting that I'm in this reality instead of a previous one. So anyway, I have plenty of bad memories in life. Lots of the memories emerge periodically as what you might call like intrusive thoughts. But the most seemingly, I guess, existentially shocking manifestation of SI memory stuff would be to forget that, to be operating under the assumption that, say, when you get home, you're going to see Lacey, the dog that died 10 years ago. But, if you get all caught up in a bunch of different thoughts and you're just moving on autopilot, you might find yourself driving to Temple City thinking, well, when I get home, I'll see Lacey, and then, oh my God, she's dead, and I haven't lived in Temple City for a long time. I mean, by and large, of course, that never happens. But it's possible to happen. And what happened, this evening was the most mild version of that. It was a habit of speech. When I said that to myself, and then you're home, I wasn't thinking of it as home, really. It was just a habit of speech. I know it's not home because I don't feel a sense of when I get back to LA like I used to. I haven't felt that for a while though, because I just got less and less fond of Los Angeles. As it got more crowded and more shitty and like, first of all, can I just say, you fucking cone putters need to like get some things done sometimes so you can take the cones away. Like, how come it is that every time I drive this drive, like there's cone putters that are this section down to 2 wires, road work ahead, 55 miles an hour is on. Like, finish your fucking cone putting already. I get it, you guys have real jobs and work and you're doing real stuff and I'm just complaining about things. I get it, but still, cone putters, just stop putting so many cones. Is that so unreasonable to ask? I don't think so. I know that you're resplendent in orange, but I don't like all your cone putting. It just slows me down, gets in my way. I don't really mind it around home because I know exactly why you're putting the cones and I can see the progress and I approve of why you're putting the cones. You're burying the cables, the power cables. It's gonna prevent us from having future power outages and also hopefully allow the PG&E people to take down the overland power line so I don't have to look at their ugly ass things anymore. It's okay. Those cone putters can go ahead, put those cones. I have a lot more faith in general in Mariposa cone putters than I have in any other kind of cone putters. Plus, of course, Rachel's ex-boyfriend Harris was a cone putter. So that makes cone putters be on my shit list. Obviously that Harris fellow was no damn good. And I will also say, it sounds like Rachel like dated that guy like on 3 separate stretches of time. Like, went out with him in high school, broke up with them, or he broke up with her, and then went some Valentine's Day thing, and then I think she dated him again later on. Well, I'm not 100% sure about that. So, obviously, prior to me, that guy was the quote-unquote love of her life or whatever. But it's pretty clear that she didn't leave that relationship with a lot of positive feelings for the guy. Anyway, as every man does, I'm sure, when you hear any mention of your wife's ex-boyfriend, you think, "Whoa, I want to get that guy. I want to punch him in the face." But I guess I won't be doing that anytime soon. Probably ever. You know, I'm not saying it's not a good idea. It's not, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I just probably won't get around to it. Much though, that cone putter needs a big punch in the face. I'm not a very good punch in the face kind of guy. and I'm not that, I don't have that much stick-to-itiveness. So Connor actually venting my spleen, which I suppose is because I'm not a spite monkey. So even though I want justice, you know, you just gotta let bygones be bygones sometimes. You can't get justice for every wrong that's ever been tendered. Well, I mean, you could, but it would take such a long time. So obviously there's a little bit of background noise. You're probably picking up on it. Maybe wondering why, what it's from. Well, it's from my asthma. All that sound that you're hearing is the sound of my asthma acting up. Oh, the asthma. It's killing me. So I don't even know if we're really still streaming or anything, you know, because I can't really see the phone very well from where I'm sitting. I can see it, but it's kind of folded over, you know. And but it looks like it's not stopped streaming. It doesn't have any like big red X saying you failed. So maybe it is still streaming. We are making amazing time, and I gotta say this streaming notion has really just made the last, I don't know how long it's been since I started, but just zip right on by. I could just talk like this to myself while I'm driving, but I generally don't. I have to believe, even if it's fake, like it could be that this stream's disconnected already and I don't know, but I can still believe that there's somebody listening, so I just talk out loud about all the things I'm thinking about. But if I didn't believe there was at least a decent chance that there was somebody listening there, then I probably would just think it in my head mostly, with occasional vocalizations. I did vocalize that thing out loud that I referred to earlier at the bottom of the grapevine when I said, okay, so like half an hour till Gorman, then another hour, 15 minutes till home. I said that out loud. You know, I say an intermediate amount of things out loud even when I'm by myself. Rubber bands on my hands, I'm pushing in my pants. I spent about half my advance just trying to get you. You smell warm apple pie, you say you single, you lie. I saw them texts from that guy, man, whatever. So fuck me, don't give a fuck. Love me, don't give me love. You try to tell me you're the only one, but I know. You can't. I can't get up there. Johnny's got a much higher range than I do. He can really hit those soprano notes. You got a man. Would be the octave lower. So I listened to that on the way down. Once I didn't really start listening to music till I got to the grapevine a little before. And I put on that song. But I guess I pushed like some like mix for you thing rather than just that song, because it played a number of songs, all of which I liked, a majority of them Johnny songs, but it wasn't any playlist of mine, and it was finite. It wasn't auto playing because it stopped after the last song. But it had on that mix not only a bunch of Johnny songs, but also I'm Feeling Restless, Hey Hey, What Could Be Over There. It was a good mix. Rachel and I had a good time yesterday evening, I think. We got home and instead of watching TV, we just put on a bunch of tracks in a row, listened to this and that and everything on the good speakers that came with the house, which aren't the most booming speakers in the world. Like, I can't really turn it up too loud, you know, like, so I have to turn it down if I want to listen to music, but I usually put it about one lower than full blast. Full blast is a good term. Things you turn on full blast. Volume on or stereo, air conditioning, heater. What else do you turn on full blast? I guess like a hose. Hose could be full blast. I want things to be either full blast or full blown. Unless it's AIDS, in which case I don't want it blown at all, or blasting. Blast, play, blow, blast. Those are the four things that people do. They blast, they blow, and they blast. They blow plaster on their last statue before retiring for the evening. And that's how we understand personality. You are an ISFP that looks like an ISFJ that resembles an ENTP. You're a double jumper, block blade fliptoid. And when you add in the mirroring, well, that's why you technically are an INTJ in their jumper shadow. Cone putters. I tell you, there's one particular cone putter I'd like to put a cone right up his ass. His name starts with a and ends with an Eris. I just hate to hear about, I don't hate to hear about it, but it makes me mad because it's really, to hear about Rachel ever being mistreated by anybody at all. In any way, shape, or form. And if anybody who's never deserved a speck of mistreatment, it's Rachel. Me, like, I earn all the shit I get, right? I practically go door to door trick or treating for her. Rachel doesn't deserve any shit from anybody. I think I might do that this year instead of regular trick or treating, actually. Just go door to door, dressed as myself, and say, can I have some shit? Can you put some piece of shit in my bag, please? Well, I want to make physical what I metaphysically do all the time. That's why. As I metaphysically go door to door asking people to put shit in my bag, I thought I should physically do it as well. Just so, you know, just for symmetry purposes. Hey Eric, welcome home. Hi Rachel. What you got there? A bag full of turds? Oh. Why? Well, reference my previous explanation that I gave to everybody else before I got home from my turd trick-or-treating trip. I wonder if Rachel's had to shoot anybody yet. Before I left the house today, I thought, well, I'm going to be gone. I'm going to leave this rifle locked and loaded in this closet here and tell her where it is, in case anybody tries to home invade or something. Then she should just shoot him. Personally, I've got my fingers crossed that the person who tries to home invade is Harris. Regardless, however, of who it might be. My advice to Rachel would have been, had I thought of it at the time, before I left the house, would have been, and remember, Rachel, I did tell her this, never point this at anybody you don't plan to kill. But what I would have initially said is, just shoot for the biggest part you can see, right in the middle, because neither you nor I is even conceivably a good enough marksman to try to shoot to wound somebody. So hopefully she hasn't had to shoot anybody tonight. I normally don't keep the rifle loaded, but it's loaded now. And it's in the closet. When I get home, I'm going to move it to a different closet. I'll still leave it loaded because, well, for one reason, I don't know how to do it or if it's not possible. But as far as I can tell, you cannot unload it without pulling the trigger. So, because it's action, you know? Once you lock that bolt in, it's ready to go. Safety on it, it's just when the bolt's out, it's safe. When the bolt's in, it's not, you know? So, probably keep it loaded, but I'll move it to a different closet that I don't ever really go into. Because I don't want to have to move the rifle aside every time I get the vacuum cleaner out of the vacuum closet. I go into that closet too often. However, I think a good place for it would be in that stupid, useless, old, like, TV dresser thing that we have in the bedroom. Because back in the day, TVs used to be square, you know? This is an old piece of furniture back when TVs were square. No TV could fit in that thing now. We have to be a very small TV. Because TVs are tall now. But that spot right there that I'm talking about is a perfect place for the rifle. Because it's in the master bedroom, so right there, accessible if I need it. And I never go into that thing because it's just, there's no good use for that space there. It's like too tall to be a shelf. There's no possible use for it. So I just put random shit in there a long time ago, like a bag of old papers or something. I don't know. I could move those to wherever and then just put the rifle in there. And that way, if any ne'er-do-wells come to try to attack me, I'll just shoot them. Well, won't you feel guilty about it, Eric? No. I'm a firm believer in the castle doctrine. Try to invade a man's castle, namely his home, and you can very well fully expect him to shoot you. So that's what I think about that. But I obviously hope I never have to shoot anybody. I'd be concerned that I'd be too hesitant. Try to resolve the thing in some less deadly fashion and have that cause, you know, backfire badly on me. So that's hopefully I never have any occasion to even pull it out with intent to do something with it, you know, except just drive out to the wilderness. And, I mean, it's like I don't even want to do that, really. So the only reason I even have that thing is, at this point, just for protection. I've already shot it out in the wilderness. I don't need to go do that again. It's not like I plan to take up target shooting and try to improve my skills as a marksman or something. It's not like I want to go shoot animals. And it's the sort of thing, if a visitor comes, I can always say, hey, you want to go out in the little wilderness car and shoot the rifle. But other than that, why do I want to shoot it at all? I don't really. I did notice today, though, when I was looking for getting a bullet to put in the gun for Rachel, that my dad I have now from my dad, a box of blanks, 22 rifle blanks. What in the world do you need 22 rifle blanks for? I can't even conceive of a possible need you'd have for 22 rifle blanks. Unless you're filming a movie or something. But I have blanks. I could play a trick on a friend. We go target shooting, make the target nice and close. I put a bullet in and shoot the target myself. And I put a blank in for him. And he visits every time. He's like, I can't understand it. I'm standing so close to it. How can't I hit it? That'd be a pretty funny prank to play on somebody. I guess that's why blanks exist. And that's also why they rhyme with pranks. Now, it should be noted, even if you have a blank in a gun, you should never aim it at somebody and pull the trigger. Yeah, they do some of that on movie sets and stuff, but I don't know, man. It seems way too sketch to me. The rest area is closed. Yeah, I remember that this rest area is closed. I noted it on the way down. It said rest area closed. Next rest area 100 miles. Okay. Is that one also going to be closed? The thing is, like I ever use a rest area. Maybe I think California is finally getting its head out of its ass and realizing we don't need rest areas. Like, it maybe made sense when there was nothing between Los Angeles and Fresno. Like, next gas 100 miles or something. But there's almost no place anything like that in California anymore. And even if you have to go poo or pee, you don't have to go poo. It's like, well, Rachel one time had to go poo when we were driving back. All of a sudden, and I pulled over and she just pooed right on the side of the road. It's not an ideal solution, maybe, but it's very plausible. It's cleaner than going to a bathroom in a rest area. Otherwise, you're going to get cooties all over your butt. Well, let's see. Where am I exactly? Try to get a sense of where I am. Because speaking of all of this pooing and peeing, has reminded me that I've needed to pee for a while now. I still need to pee. And then my plan was to pull over and go pee. But before I pull over and go pee, I want a better sense of exactly where I am. So I know, oh, okay, I like to do this for some reason. Like, okay, well, I'll go pee in meow miles. That way, I'll be only, after I'm done peeing, I'll only be meow miles from home. Or whatever. Like, I don't desperately have to pee right now. It's not urgent or anything. Tulare, next 7 exits. Okay, so I'm already in Tulare. That's pretty good. That's pretty far along. But I want to see a sign that says like Fresno, meow miles, something like that. I don't know exactly how far this is from Fresno. So like if I'm really close to Fresno, which I'm not that close, but if I were to be really close to Fresno, I might say, all right, Eric, why don't you pee once you get past Fresno and heading in towards Core School. And I'm thinking also about which side of the road is good for peeing on. Like, it's nighttime now, so if I were to pull over to the side of the road and there's not a big tree next or whatever, no big deal. I just just stand on the side of the road and pee. But if it's during the day, I don't really want passers-by looking at my schlong. So, I try to wait for there to be a tree or something. Like, I know there are certain stretches of the road where it's not that easy to pull over. It's got small shoulders or whatever. Obviously, you don't want to pee there. I mean, you don't want to pee on someone with large shoulders either, but definitely don't pee on people with small shoulders, because their shoulders can't handle the weight of the additional pee. I haven't smoked a great deal of pot on this trip. I rolled and smoked 2 joints on the way down, and earlier, like not that long after I left LA, I smoked a joint. Rolled and smoked it as I'm driving, of course. I can roll a joint while I drive, no problem. I got lots of experience doing that. All you need is like this. It's like, well, you can't see anyway. I forgot there's no light. Well, you just gotta get a newspaper as your tray, essentially, and then just break up weed while you're driving with your knees into the newspaper. I'm trying to get all the stems out. I'm breaking up my fingers. They didn't bring a grinder with me, anything. But, and then you just, with your fingers, you just pinch the right amount by feel into the paper. You might have to glance at it a couple times. Once you got it spread out the right amount, then you just roll it up. You just roll it up while you're driving with your knee. No problem. I'm driving with my knee right now and I'm not even rolling anything. I mean, I'm rolling in the intransitive verb sense, but I'm just not rolling anything. They see me rolling, they hating. That's just because they're trying to catch me riding dirty. for a sign that says like distance to Fresno. I haven't seen one in a while, but got to be closing in on it pretty quick here, I would guess. This town right here, I believe it might be that little town that Rachel and I stopped at one time to get fast food, and I joked, one day I'd like to live here in this little town. She took me seriously. That, oh, okay. Obviously failing to see the appeal of it. The reason I made that joke is because I couldn't figure out why anybody would ever want to be in that little town. It's just like this flat, hot, dry, barren, off the highway town that has nothing but services for travelers and nothing to recommend it whatsoever. Get it. People don't necessarily move to a place because it's their ideal place, maybe because it's cheap, they can afford it, that's where their work is, etc. But I still wonder about living in a town like Early Mark, which is, I mean, obviously the only people who live around those towns are farmers and their families. But, and employees of farmers and stuff, like Mexican laborers and stuff. But, you know, big farming is so antithetical to a community. You've got single interests, either family, at least 40 acres of land, and they don't have to just use a mule to farm it. But nevertheless, they're farming great swaths of land and necessarily are rather isolated from their neighbors. But the farming communities around in the Central Valley in California are way bigger than is justified by farming. So it's like, okay, I get it. There's agricultural areas where it's going to be flat and boring and farmy, and nobody's really going to want to live there except for farmers. Except, why are there so many people in Fresno then? Why are there so many people in these little communities along the 99 here that have nothing to recommend them except it's good farming land? Well, you know, obviously there are various industries that pop up to support farmers and people can make money that way, etc. I still gotta wonder though, how you like end up living your whole life in Fresno. How do you end up living your whole life in LA, in some random bland place in LA for that matter, you know? That's where I grew up, that's where I went back to, it's what I was familiar with. I guess it's kind of an SI thing, you know? People think home's home, whatever, no matter how little it has to recommend it, if they're SI absolute value. Although, you know, look at Rachel's sister, I'm quite convinced she's an ISFJ, and like my mom, she really likes to travel. My mom really liked to travel a lot too. Especially when she was younger. You know, the best time of my mom's life was before I was born, when she and my dad were traveling around Europe, doing different things, racing cars, whatever. Although, you know, I think my mom genuinely enjoyed all parts of her life except the end. She was a very happy person. she knew what made her happy, and she got to do everything that made her happy. You know, she had her garden, she cooked, she watched her baseball games, she watched her Masterpiece Theater on PBS, and puttered, hung out with her English teacher friends, went on little bike rides, you know, like the 10K Palm Springs bike ride or whatever. My dad was into that stuff. My mom was fine with it. I don't know if I'd say she was as into it as he was, but she did like to ride her bike a lot. They were big believers in exercise. Okay, well, I'm in Visalia. That's where I am. I just hit Visalia. And Rachel and I are in the television market of Fresno, Visalia, Merced. If the two biggest cities you can include in your television market besides Fresno are Visalia and Merced, you are in a small television market. And indeed we are in a small television market. But the other thing is, Merced's a very different kind of place. Well, it's still pretty agro, I guess. I mean agricultural, not like aggressive. But it's like Fresno, Visalia, Merced, they're all flatlands and that kind of farming. Mariposa, which is included in that television market, is all mountains, and there is agriculture, but it's like livestock agriculture, not so much planting crops. And I haven't seen any crop planting agriculture in Mariposa County. So, but I guess there is a common agricultural theme between the four places, the three that are named as our television market, and Mariposa, which sits approximately between Fresno and Merced. So I guess it's going to be about time for me to pull over and pee pretty soon. I'm just going to keep my eyes peeled for a nice empty stretch of highway on the side, in between exits, where there's just some dirt and plants to pee on. Earlier when I stopped to pee on the way down, I pulled over, it was daylight then, so I pulled over by a tree that I could stand behind so that I could tell when I was standing there, like, okay, people won't be able to look at my penis while I'm peeing here. And I started peeing, and I peed on a lizard without seeing, I hadn't seen it there. And it scurried and startled me. I thought, oh, is that a snake? No, it was just a lizard. 34 miles to Fresno, that's not bad. Less than half an hour out from Fresno. Fresno, it's an hour and a half home. That puts me at home before 2 a.m., which is a full hour ahead of schedule. Because part of the schedule was actually Delilah and I were planning on having dinner at the spaghetti factory together after I got down there before I headed back. But before I even got there, she called me and was like, is it okay if we don't go to the spaghetti factory? And I was like, oh, yes, thank God. I totally did not want to go to the spaghetti factory. A couple of action types, you know? We don't need a bunch of nonsense. You're like, we're both like, okay, well, if it's going to hurt your feelings, then I'll definitely do it. You know, if I don't. But once we just, yes, we're still both bipolar, then that exchange goes very easy. Alright, this is the spot. This is the spot to pee, right here. nice wide shoulder. I can pull off the shoulder entirely onto these dirt and rocks. Dirty rocks, you might call them. And then we can go out and pee. I'm going to put on my hazard lights. Turn off the car. I'm going to look at this thing now for a second. 10 people here. Wow. I guess I am still streaming. So I will go pee now. And then I'll take the phone with me. But don't worry. I'll be sure not to show you my penis. Just as I'm sure not to show the other drivers my penis. Oh, it's chilly out here. Okay. So, this will have to do with my peeing spot. I go pee just as just as simple as a kitten up a tree. And it might be this urine that I spew. I can't understand. I go pee every time with my hand in conjunction with my penis. On my own, will I leave you all my pee, but it's on loan. It's good to pee. Yes, true. I'm getting a few splatters on my feet. But you know, I can't see if I'm peeing on dirt or a rock. Now that I've spread my feet further apart and put them a little bit back, I seem to have managed to solve the splatter problem. So that's good. Because, you know, if you pee on the wrong rock, it's like tilted the wrong direction, you could have yourself a full stream of pee splashing right back on you. Don't think you're immune. When peeing outside in the dark, keep that in mind. Okay. There's the highway. I should have been showing you that the whole time, rather than just darkness. And if you want to hate me for that, it's understandable. Some pretty fun highway shots you guys are getting there. This is the kind of high quality cinematography I bring to the table. These are just a few of the reasons why I have a YouTube channel. Burn. Oh, it was cold out there. It's like somebody took 2 witches' tits and put them in a freezer. That's how cold it is. Okay. Now what we will do, wait for there to be a bit of a space here. Now turn on my lights and zoom into action. Well, I zoomed into action, but my phone zoomed right off of the dashboard onto the floor and closed, thereby briefly disconnecting the light. But don't worry, I successfully retrieved the phone from the floor and reopened it. Now I can go back onto the dashboard. Would you guys like to look the other direction? Maybe it's more entertaining if you look at that direction. You might not be able to hear as well because now the microphone's not pointed towards me. But you can see what I'm seeing. Isn't that exciting? It's like you're behind my eyes, looking out of my face. Alright, so for those of you who want to know the details, I'm currently going 77 miles per hour. We're heading north towards Fresno. We're about 2 hours out from home. That puts my ETA at about 1:45. Now note, I will not be live streaming that long. Pretty much as soon as I get past Fresno, I'm going to probably shut it down for a couple of reasons. I know my bars are going to get weak, so it's not going to be really sustainable. Even if I have a little bit of bars, it's not going to be enough to live stream. And another reason is my phone will probably be running out of charge around then. I'll plug it back in, drive home, just sort of paying attention to the road. Listen, phone, I already told you what my plan was. It did not involve you falling on the floor. You get to rest after Fresno, okay? So don't be trying to fall down and close again. I will tell you when your job is over. You don't decide that for yourself. Which reminds me, I wanted to answer a question that somebody asked, which is a perfectly reasonable question to ask, about my Matrix okay, Sim Theory no video, in which they said, well, what is it that makes about biology that makes it so uniquely unsimulatable or whatever? Well, it's not that it's unsimulatable, it's that you have to simulate something for someone. Remembering that all realities are predicated on observation, the idea of simulated beings observing simulations is predicated on the idea that you can successfully simulate self-aware consciousness, which at which point wouldn't be a simulation, right? It would be self-aware consciousness. So if you have actual self-aware consciousness, now granted, this point I'm making is predicated on the fact that indeed, as I claim, AI will never attain self-aware consciousness because the only way you can attain self-aware consciousness is to be both a physical and metaphysical being at the same time, be raised and develop perspective on the world by a combination of your attentional stack and your situation, you know. So if I'm wrong about that, if it is in fact possible for human beings to simulate intelligence so well that it becomes somehow self-aware, self-interested, and self-serving, you know, which are the three key components of anything that could reasonably be called sentience. So, the idea of being self-aware and self-serving without an actual physical self it's possible for us to conceive as a thought experiment of an entirely metaphysical being and construct interests and ways to serve those interests in order to, for the purposes of that thought experiment, but such speculations are inherently reflective of a bias against the metaphysical self or a bias against the physical self in their expression. So you get like ENTJs saying, oh, we're going to upload our consciousness to a computer and somehow retain our identity. You get, like SI tool saying, well, it's not possible to know anything except through direct experience. If you talk to them about the concept, they'll just be like, no, intuition doesn't even exist. In both cases, they're wrong, obviously. They're just displaying one of the other qualities of real sentience, which is it has a specific frame of perspective at the expense of other specific frames of perspective that persists. Otherwise, it's not a single identity passing through time. So I know it's taken me a long time to answer that question, and whoever asked it is not currently watching this stream. We'll never get the answer, but nevertheless, there's the answer to the question. Because it does trouble me when I'm making a point and somebody asks a good question that deserves to be answered, and I don't answer it because I'm lazy or don't feel like it or whatever. It does stick with me that person deserved an answer. I don't necessarily give them an answer ever, but I am aware that I have done them a disservice because they asked a question that deserves an answer. Not all questions deserve answers, but that has something to do with the questioner as well as the question. Honestly intended questions generally almost always deserve answers. But people are devious creatures who ask questions for a number of different possible reasons. And they may themselves view those reasons as legitimate and authentic, and I might not view them as such, So, like, I had a class with an SE Dom kid who was the debate partner of my INTP beast, which made it like, the INTP had brought him in to be a debate partner. Alan, I had to accommodate him some. But he liked to ask me questions just to disrupt my flow of thought. He asked legitimate sounding questions, but he was just liking to kick the anthill and make things cause impacts or whatever. I had to learn not to answer those questions. by and large, almost every honestly intended question, like somebody doesn't know, wants clarification on something, deserves to be answered. Lane closed ahead, road work ahead. How are there more fucking cone putters? It is midnight. Granted, I approve of you cone putters doing work in the middle of the night when it's less of an impact on traffic. That's good. Good job with that. But for fuck's sake, you guys have been working on this stretch of highway since the first time Rachel and I came to Mariposa. Over at least, well, about a year ago. Just finished your cone putting and put your cones away. I'm tired of all this orange everywhere. I feel like I'm constantly about to cross the Golden Gate Bridge. Leave your cones at home, cone putters. Leave your cones at home. Leave your flags and cones and signs, cone putters. Leave them at home. Well, that's my song for the cone putters tonight. '55 zone ahead. Will be enforced. Why? Because they're cone putters. You can't go faster than 55 if they're cone putters. Everybody knows that. Well, why? It's like, isn't that why they put the cones? So you know where you can drive and where you can't drive? There's still two perfectly good lanes here. Why do I have to go 55 in these lanes now? Just because there are some stupid cone putters around. Okay, well now there's just one lane, but the logic still applies the same. Like there's nothing wrong with this lane. I could go 70 in this lane just fine. But no. Not only the cone putters have their little sign up saying you have to go 55, number one. Number two, they don't appear to actually be doing anything. There's just a truck there sitting there with blinking lights and a cop car sitting there with blinking lights. Oh, well, it's because it's this part of the highway where they, for whatever reason, took like 3 lanes and made a little wall so that now I'm isolated in this one lane. But depending on how I had gotten into this thing, I could have been over there in those lanes. But I can't go across this little wall. Why did they put this little wall here? I don't know. You'd have to ask the cone putters. Well, it looks like there's, you know, and the other thing is, how many miles ahead of you actually doing your cone putting do you have to put up your fucking signs telling me that you're going to be putting cones pretty soon? It's like 3 miles ago there's a sign. Like, oh, well, I guess they're not actually putting any cones. Well, now here's another truck. They're putting in some cones. There's that truck. It's making a bunch of dust. Why? It's not clear why. Because it wasn't dusty enough around here. There's another cone putter. What's he doing? Well, he's putting cones, obviously. Why are there all these? Why do I have one lane and these little cones over here and this little wall? There's no good reason that I can tell. Just the cone putters is like, I wonder if they're even official employees of anyone, if they're just a bunch of random dudes who like to get out on the roads and put cones and build little walls, hold their fucking signs, slow, stop, slow, They're the only two options they have is slow and stop on their sign. What if they need me to go fast? Because, you know, once you're in the cone putter zone, they're like God, right? Like, I'm a cone putter, my sign says meow, you will meow. So, if you can see, we've got this nice line of cones down the middle of the road here, which is a cone putter spot for some reason or another. We've got all these lanes over here. Oh, good. The cone putters say we can drive on the lanes again now. Thanks, cone putters. In case you haven't gleaned the overall message here, I am sick of their cone putting ways. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm going to complain about it on a live stream instead of taking it. Yesterday, the day before, Rachel and I were driving up from the house, and of course we encountered our daily cone putters. But this time they were a little bit different. The sign holder, the cone putters, even the guys driving the work vehicles, like the big scooper guy and stuff. None of them had any hard hats on. Why? My guess is because the supervisor went home. None of them need to be wearing any hard hats. After all, they aren't working at a building site where things might fall down on top of their head. They're just putting cones on the road. Who needs a hard hat to put cones on the road? Or holding a sign that says slow or stop, depending on which side of the sign you're seeing. Who needs a hard hat to hold a sign? Nobody does. But cone putters, they like their hard hats, their safety vests, their cones, their pudding, the whole 9 yards. They're just really into their whole job. So anyway, but what I realized the other day is probably the only cone putters who are really into hard hats are the supervisors. I suspect that the regular cone putters, when they don't have to wear the hard hat, they're sensible enough to realize I don't need a hard hat to hold a sign. Holding a sign puts me at no greater risk of something falling on top of my head than any other activity I might do during a given day. That's insurance companies for you, you know. Well, just to be safe, let's have everybody on the job site always wear a hard hat. Well, what if there's absolutely nothing above them? It doesn't matter. Why are they wearing a hard hat? To protect their head. From what? It doesn't matter. Okay. Can you come up with a scenario in which this person might need a hard hat? Well, they got hit by a car. And then why don't you give them hard pants? You know, nobody's gonna hit a sign holder in the head with their car. Well, I only give them modesty pants. Well, that's good. That would encumber their movement too much. Oh, okay. Well, why don't you give them a diver's helmet so they don't run any risk of breathing in any cone putter infected air? Oh, because that's cost prohibitive. So basically, the only reason you're making them wear hard hats is because you can and it's cheap. That's the only reason you're making them wear hard hats. The bright green safety vest, okay, I get it. You know, somebody might come around the corner and need to have a big explosion of neon green in their face to realize that you're a human being. But even if they don't and they hit you with your car, they're not going to hit your head. Now, granted, if you get hit by a car, you might go flying and hit your head into something. But then if that's the standard, then you should just have every single pedestrian always wearing a hard hat. So anyway, those are my important thoughts on cone putters and hard hats. You're welcome. I know you've been wanting to hear my thoughts on those subjects for quite some time now. And I'm happy to have been able to share them with you. It's my pleasure, really. It's my duty, my honor, my privilege, my pleasure. It also might be called my obligation. I'm obligated to say everything I think out loud to you. It's the only way I can be fair to you, because every single one of my thoughts is so wonderful. And I don't want to be unfair to you, by denying you any of my wonderful thoughts. Wow, Mega Millions and Powerball are down so low. Powerball's at 20 million, Mega Millions at 48 million. They must have both been recently won. I'm used to seeing those things consistently at least over 100 million. Sometimes they get up to $1 billion, I could use $1 billion. If I had $1 billion, what would I do with it? Well, I'd buy even fancier frozen dinners than I do now. Nowadays, we try to be frugal with the frozen dinners. We only buy a few of the fancy ones. They're like $7 a piece or something. Then we buy a medium number of the medium priced ones. And then we buy a larger number of the cheap ones. If I had $1 billion, I just wouldn't even bother buying the cheap ones. Although I still would, because I like those orange chickens, sweet and sour chickens, and it's 4 minutes in the microwave. It's a convenient food. I probably still would buy those, yeah. Alright, so that wouldn't change. What would change? Well, I guess I'd probably buy more music equipment. Although, I'm not sure if I'd ever use it. Well, I guess if I had $1 billion, I would hire somebody to produce stuff, Either videos or music of mine. Just hire professionals who know what they're doing to do things like that I am shitty at. Or at least not good enough at. And anything that's not good enough might as well just be shitty, If it's not good enough, that's no better than complete garbage. It's just the simple rules of life. I've learned it the hard way. I've made God knows how many things, including this one, that have no lasting purpose or impact on anybody, have zero potential to garner any, significance as a piece of media, and yet I do them anyway. So, what I've learned through my many, many, many years of endless failure is that, wait a second, oh gosh, this is the right one. I don't know what road that was. Okay. Well, yeah, we're on the river. So, what was I talking about? What was I talking about? Well, it must not have been very important, or I wouldn't so easily forget it. Welcome to downtown Fresno, everybody. There's the sign. It says downtown Fresno, next exit. And if you want to go to a place, consider downtown Fresno. It is a place. There's no disputing that. It's a place you can go to. And if you just want to go to any old place, a place, then it's as good as any other. Personally, I'm a little bit more picky about places to go than just a place. But I don't judge you for having that criterion. A place is fine for you if that's what you're into. I'm more into the place. I like my articles definite. Like my, what else do I like definite? I don't know. Answer to that. Thereby making my attempt at a simile doomed to fail. Okay, well, we're outside of Fresno. We're going to start losing bars pretty soon. We're going to be heading up into Coarse Gold after I get off this multi-lane part of the highway. So, I think I'm going to wrap this up, plug my phone in, and decent chance I'll live stream again when I get home. I am on some amphetamines, not feeling especially sleepy or anything. So, until then, I bid you all a very fond and fine and fondue and final. Not final, though. No, not final. A very fond and fondue adieu.